Good evening, everyone. Happy Friday. It is Friday, October 6th, 2023. Welcome to studentloanjustice.org. We are the first, oldest, largest, and only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. I've got a couple of announcements today. First thing, if you would please go to our Twitter feed. Oh, where is it? Is it there? There it is right there. Go to our Twitter feed and look at the top of our feed and take that poll. We're doing periodic polls before the repayment pause ended, and now shortly after the repayment pause ended. And we'll do another poll in a month or so to see where people are at in terms of, are you repaying your student loans or not? Seems to be on Twitter, it's about 80-20. 80% are not paying. And on Facebook, it's like 70 something percent not paying. So somewhere between 70 and 80% are saying they are not paying. Take that poll and share it, please. Just please do that. Second announcement, please donate, guys. We still need, I think, 8 people to donate $20 or more for this week's cost, our operating expenses. We don't need a lot to survive and thrive and fight and win this battle, guys. We can't do it on nothing. We cannot. We don't do deals with bad guys. We don't sell your ass out to the student loan industry. We don't do any of that stuff. Our very existence is dependent entirely upon your very modest financial support. So if you've never donated, or you haven't donated in a while, please just donate so I can shut up about it. Thank you. Also one other thing on that. I'm paying $100 to Twitter to promote that poll. Just kind of a test thing. I'm going to see how it works. If it works, maybe we'll keep doing it. But yeah, so there's that expense also. So maybe I should have said we need 13 people. Let's call it 14 just to be safe. 14 people to donate $20 or more by hopefully the end of this weekend. So just please help. If you have any questions or comments, and if I can, as always, if I can see them on Facebook and or Twitter, if you're watching us live, throw them out and I'm happy to respond to them. So tonight I want to take you through, I'm going to try and do this in 10 minutes because I'm trying to keep my live stream short. Try and take you through a brief history of how the student loan system was weaponized against us and how it became a profit center for the federal government. You know, we see people, our opposition seeds nonsense in the media all the time about how expensive the federal student loan program is. That's complete nonsense, guys. Student loan program has become a huge money maker for the federal government, particularly since 1998. And I'll get into that in a minute. And even Donald Trump, former President Trump, before he ran for office, like 2015, he recognized that fact, and he was interviewed by The Hill, and he asked that very same question. Why is the government making money off of student loans? So here's how it happened, guys. 1965, Higher Education Act was signed into law by President LBJ. At the signing ceremony, he declared that the loans that were created as a part of the Higher Education Act of 1965, which he was signing, that the loans would be free of interest. So put a pin in that, note that. So then 1977 rolls around and Congress began restricting bankruptcy rights to the loans. They put a 5-year waiting period on them. They extended the 5 years to 7 years, maybe a decade or so after that. Well, things really started to get lucrative for the student loan industry, and not just the private banks that were making the loans, but even for the federal government. Starting in 1991, they removed statutes of limitations from federal student loans. So now bankruptcy was greatly restricted, and the loans were stripped of statutes of limitations, which basically made it so that borrowers couldn't run and they couldn't hide. In 1998, they made bankruptcy totally and permanently forever restricted, uniquely for federal student loans. This was the watershed year. So no bankruptcy forever, no statutes of limitations. And they also created a collection regime around federal student loans where wages could be garnished without a court order, where Social Security and disability income could be taken without a court order. Tax returns could be taken without a court order. So the people who did this are people like Sally Mae and various people who worked for the federal government, in and around the federal government. Department of Education, Office of Federal Student Aid, like David Longenecker, for example, just one of quite a few. The loans were turned into greatly profitable enterprises. And it is very interesting to note that an important article came out in 2004 from the Wall Street Journal. It's talking the headline of, well, the beginning of the story begins with an AIDS patient named Clay Stanley, who was literally dying in a hospital room. And a student loan collection agent literally came to his hospital room and had him sign away his disability income for his defaulted student loans. And this is a seminal piece by John Heckinger of the Wall Street Journal, 2004. And in that article, it reported, John Heckinger reported that Albert Lord was bragging that the private banks were now sending more money back to the federal government every year than the other way around. And these loans were subsidized, et cetera. It's kind of a long story. But the point is, the federal government, as long ago as 20 years ago, nearly 20 years ago, was getting more money from the banks than it was paying out to the banks. And lo and behold, it's true that many, many years of White House budget data showed that unlike all other loans in this country, including federally guaranteed or federally made loans, the Department of Education actually makes a profit on defaulted student loans. That's probably the most important thing I'll say tonight. The federal government has been making a profit, not incurring a cost, on defaulted student loans. So no other lender can claim this for any other type of loan. This is completely unique in the universe of lending instruments in this country. Like, look at credit cards. On a defaulted credit card, the credit card company is thrilled if they get back 10 cents on the dollar on a defaulted account. Well, the Department of Education gets back somewhere between $1.10 and $1.22 on the dollar for a defaulted federal student loan. And so, yeah, after 1998, it became very lucrative for the government to foster the federal lending program where the private banks were making loans. Federal government was subsidizing them somewhat. But the federal government was actually getting back more money at the end of the year as a result of these defaulted student loans, by and large. And that should be shocking to everyone out there. Like, nobody makes a profit on defaults, only for student loans. But guys, here's where it got really lucrative for the federal government. In 2010, President Obama and Congress federalized the lending program. So they kicked out the private banks from making the loans. And now the lender is the federal government. So the interest on the loans now accrues to the federal government. So that's really it, guys, in a nutshell. Today, the Department of Education is gaining $108 billion in profit in interest every year on the federal student loan program. I don't know how much money they're making on defaulted student loans. They've found a way to get blood from a turnip, though. You know, when you take bankruptcy away from a loan, when you take statutes of limitations away, you give the lender a license to steal. And that is what the Federal Department of Education has been doing for years and even decades at this point. So I don't know much more that I really have to add to that, but that's what happened. That's how federal student loans were turned into a profit center for the federal government. Now, remember, guys, the federal government doesn't make a profit on anything. The Army doesn't make a profit. The Air Force, NASA, the VA, the Health and Human Services, no federal agency makes a profit on anything except for the Department of Education making a massive profit on federal student loans. 2 days ago, the Biden administration was quick to brag very loudly and proudly that they are canceling $9 billion in federal student loans. Well, just since these loans have been turned back on post-COVID, in fact, the repayments began only this week, but interest began accruing just last month. Even in the past month, since they turned the loans back on, $10 billion in interest has accrued to the federal government. So that $9 billion in loan cancellation isn't really looking so impressive now, is it? No, it's not. We don't have to put up with this bullshit, guys. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy rights, uniform bankruptcy laws, aka rights, in the Constitution. And they called for the head of the power to declare war and raise an army. This is an unconstitutional, unconscionable lending scam. We don't have to put up with it, guys. So I'm glad you found this group, particularly if you are new to the group. We're the only, and by the way we're going to solve this problem begins with getting the constitutional right of bankruptcy returned from where it should have never been taken. We can be begging Joe Biden or the next president for loan cancellation forever. And what we'll get is the nonsense that we're seeing now. And the loan portfolio will still grow by something like $1.5 trillion every 10 years. More than that, actually, if you include the money they're making off of defaults and capitalized interest. It's far more than 1.5 trillion. We've got to get our bankruptcy rights back, guys. Whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy is not important. Very few people, in fact, no one really should even have to file when we get the right return. But we've got to get the leverage of bankruptcy rights back, guys. And if you care about this problem at all, and apparently the other groups out there don't, because none of them are fighting for bankruptcy. But I'm here to tell you, dudes, until we get this right returned, we're not going to see anything good happen with your student loans. Now, this is all between us and Congress. Congress, or the president, Congress can pass a law repealing one line of federal code. And student loans can be put back in the same category with all other loans, which they should be in terms of how they are treated in bankruptcy. That's got to happen, dudes. Very few people, as I said, really no one should even have to file. Just having the leverage of bankruptcy is what is so important in this fight. So this comes down to us and Congress. There's no middlemen that we need to worry about. All we need are us, normal, living, breathing human beings, fighting this fight to get the constitutionally enshrined right of bankruptcy returned. This means you sitting there, calling your congressman and calling both your senators and doing everything you could think of to get them to fight for the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. It's not hard, guys. It's not rocket science, but you got to show up to the fight because I can't do your work for you. All the people on our group, the thousands of people who are doing our daily actions, which is the first best and most efficient thing that you can possibly do to help us solve this problem. Let me just dial that in for you right there. Daily actions right there. You can also find our daily actions at our website at the top of the page. If you've never done a daily action, I strongly recommend you go check it out and do like a week's worth. They go really quick, by the way. You can do one daily action in probably less than a minute most days. It's usually like retweet this, retweet that. Very simple. But this is what's needed, guys. There's really no more sitting on the sidelines. The people who are doing the work on this group, we can't pull your weight for you. You can go to one of the other groups and they will very happily sit you down and blow smoke up your ass. They're not fighting for bankruptcy, of course. They're just trying to build their own little fiefdom, or I don't know what they're doing, but you should ask them the tough questions if you happen to be in any of those other groups. But I don't care about those groups. All I care about is us and Congress and the president. As I said, Congress can pass a law returning bankruptcy to student loans tomorrow. The president tomorrow can order the Department of Education to stop opposing student loan borrowers in bankruptcy court. And don't believe any of the nonsense you hear about the new bankruptcy process making it easier to discharge your loans in bankruptcy. It's completely false. The past year have shown that. We got to fight, guys. We got to fight. And now is the time for you to step up, because the number one goal of the student debt collection industry has been to see these loans turned back on and for bankruptcy to remain gone from the loans. Well, that dream has come true for the student loan collection industry. And things are going to get very, 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 very difficult for us going forward, unless and until we get the leverage of bankruptcy return. You got to help us fight. We need you. And we are the only group in the country fighting for this. And shame on the other groups. Frankly, they're corrupted. Those other groups that I have seen are actually making money off of your ass. A lot of them are selling you out to the student loan industry, trying to get you to rehabilitate your loans, consolidate your loans, refinance your loans, etc. We don't do that. So you found the right place. So yeah, guys, I think I'm just going to leave it there at that. I'm sorry, I can't. My Facebook doesn't seem to want to load. I see we have a couple comments here. I'm sorry, I can't get to all of them. Maybe I'll just go through maybe one. So Gordon Wayne Watts is here with us. Alan Collins is correct. Thank you, Gordon, in his claims that taxpayers have been more than fully repaid by student loan borrowers. And this is even at illegally inflated price gouging levels of tuition. Yeah, that's right, Gordon. You know, people always say, "Oh, pay your loans, you deadbeat." Yeah, people have paid. On average, people have paid more than they've borrowed. So the entire student loan portfolio at this point is essentially profit. And as I said, the government shouldn't profit on anything. So I hope that what I've said reached you tonight, guys. This is going to be a very difficult battle for us going forward. We need you in this fight. And to all of you out there fighting, like Gordon and so many other people, I salute you. But we need all the dead weight. We need all the looky-loos, all the wallflowers in this group to come out of the woodwork and help us fight. It's just that simple. These are your loans. This is your battle, and only you can fight it. And we will only win when you do fight it. So take that to heart. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Have a great weekend. We're kicking ass. We just need more people helping. So jump on in. The water is fine. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Good luck. Godspeed doing our daily actions. God bless everyone.